Over under pitch pilot, Saturday, June 22nd, 2013. Good evening out there, everybody in Radio Land. Today is the first of a new concept. My name is Eric Hatfield, and I'm here with Perry Daniels, and today is the pilot of the Over-Under sports program, bringing you the best of Baton Rouge sports, Louisiana sports, and the sports world as a whole. Perry, why don't you want to give an introduction?
Fantastic, Eric. We're going to have an exciting program for you. The Over and Under, we're going to talk about everything relating to Baton Rouge, the state of Louisiana, and the nation as it pertains to sports.
So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. As you all might be aware, there was some major sporting events going on last week. We had the NBA Finals finally wrap up to a conclusion, and definitely an interesting series. It went 7 games between the Spurs and Heat. The Heat finally coming out on top in Game 7. Perry, what are some of your reflections and observations of that series?
That LeBron James is truly the king, Eric. He is truly the king.
Yeah, he seems like he's from another planet sometimes.
He does, And, I was kind of rooting for the Spurs. I'm a fundamentalist when it comes to the game of basketball. Wanted to see Tim Duncan go out with a blaze of glory as he retires and walks off into the sunset. But the Spurs just couldn't get it done.
Well, yeah, they had every opportunity. I mean, they definitely have nobody to blame themselves when they look in the mirror. I mean, you look at Game 6, which they really, I've read reports about how they had security staff at the Miami Arena with the little yellow rope to cord it off and getting ready to roll out the trophy and the champagne and all that and the platforms. And, I remember LeBron said he kind of saw that and took exception to it. But, the Spurs were that close. They're sealing the deal.
I blame Manu Ginobili. That's who I blame. Those turnovers, it was just unbelievable how horribly he played in Game 6 and Game 7.
Yeah, he definitely, he was not there where he needed to be. And after that stellar performance in Game 5, and really, he looked alive in Game 6 till the very end. You got to finish the games. There's some fanboys out there that'll say, they should have called a foul on Ray Allen for that. I don't think any NBA official is going to call a foul in overtime in that situation, Perry.
If you're dependent on the referees, you've already lost. You cannot depend on the referees at that level, at any level,
right? Yeah.
So you got to get it done. At the high school level, they teach beat the referees as well. Leave no doubt. Leave no doubt.
And we've seen that over and over again. In our coverage of Madison Prep at LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com, and when they've had different crews like from Lafayette or from other places come in, we've observed time and time again the refs are a different breed of animal. And every time I ask Coach Jones about the officiating, he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to talk about it because you shouldn't. You can't beat the referees. They are 82-0.
That's right.
Every season.
That's right. And being a former referee, Eric. Referees make mistakes, but they never walk into the gym saying that we want this team to win.
Right.
So, they're not coming in there against you. It boils down to you have to leave no doubt who's the better basketball team. And in this particular case, San Antonio had an opportunity to leave no doubt that they were better than the Heat, but they left it up for questioning, and they end up losing. So
I agree. Referees, professional refs, generally have a lot of high integrity, and unless your name is Tim Downey, you usually don't have anything. But enough about that. Game 7 also was that's another case in which the Spurs really, again, only have themselves to blame when they look in the mirror. There's not been a Game 7 of the Finals won on the road in 35 years, and it's very difficult. And I think there's a lot of both human condition physically and mentally that make that extremely challenging in the playoffs and especially in the finals. But the bottom line is that the Spurs were within one basket in the final 2 minutes, and Tim Duncan missed 2 shots from 3 feet in. When you're a Hall of Famer, there's no excuse for that.
Well, I agree with that. Tim should not have missed that shot. The putback was a little tough, tough of a shot, although it was from point blank range. But they looked confused at times. Eric Pop looked like he didn't know which lineup he was going to go to again because Ginobili was playing so bad. Now the rookie played second-year guy, and I don't recall his name. Guy with the braids.
Kawhi Leonard. That guy
played phenomenal. Yeah. He's gonna be a star. I like him.
Yeah, he's got a great shot. Good overall game. Good defense.
Yes. He put the ball on the floor, get to the basket. He played well. He even bailed them out with a 3 near the end.
Yeah.
And kept them in the game.
To 2. That was also the last shot they'd ever make. It was with 2 minutes to go in the game.
Right. So they just needed some help. You know, a lot of people questioning why Tony Parker was on the bench.
Right.
And Ginobili was in the game.
Right.
Looking behind the scenes, the words that aren't said, I like to listen to press conferences and hear what's not said. In those huddles, you know how ABC had the wired up. Pop, the coach, Greg Popovich, he kept focusing on team, play as a team, play as a team. That leads me to believe that has been an issue with those guys. When I watch the Spurs, sometimes Ginobili, sometimes Parker, they play selfishly. And I think that's why Tony Parker was on that bench at the end of the game, because he was afraid that Parker was not going to be a team basketball player. However, Parker's probably the man that could have got it done.
Well, you look at out there. Obviously, when you're trailing, you want Danny Green out there. Even though he was 1 for 6 from downtown, you know what he's capable of.
But he was playing horribly. So do you go with him? Do you go with Ginobili?
I'm looking at the stat line, and frankly, obviously numbers don't tell you everything, but Manu Ginobili's plus minus at the end of Game 7 was a plus 6. Tony Parker minus 4. Manu Ginobili 6 for 12 from the field, 2 for 5 from downtown, 4 for 4 from the line. Tony Parker 3 of 12 from the field, and that's very, very telling. Ginobili did commit 4 turnovers, so that definitely goes to your point. But Ginobili finished with 18 points, and technically he's been a sixth man all throughout the regular season.
Right.
Parker's been the star. You just expect your stars to pick it up. Kawhi Leonard, who you mentioned a few minutes ago, 19 points, 16 rebounds.
I like Leonard. He's going to be a star in the NBA.
Yeah, he is a very, very talented young guy. 8 of 17 from the field. Really bright future, I think, for that young fella. Let's get right into it. We have going to kind of go through some of the games really quickly, maybe around each game, and then maybe 30 seconds or less, and just kind of recap what was the 2013 NBA Finals. Tony Parker late in Game 1, of course, hitting a shot that made it a 2-possession game, pretty much icing it, getting the ball out of his hand with a tenth of a second remaining on the shot clock. Game 1 was really the only game prior to Game 6 that was remotely close at the end, and even that one was kind of boring, to tell you the truth. And San Antonio really was never not in control of that game. I think a couple of things did stick out from that, though. San Antonio in that game only had 4 turnovers. Miami, I think, without having the numbers in front of me to back it up, just from a visual, seems to me to be the best team in the NBA this year, and in really quite some time I've seen it making teams pay dearly for transition turnovers. It's almost like if they steal the ball, if you cough it up, it's 2 points the other way.
Well, when you got lane fillers like LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, hey, that's a no-brainer. Those guys are going to convert on the other end. So you don't want to turn the ball over without a doubt. But how about that shot from Tony Parker at the end of the game? It was visions of Marcus Haynes almost, the way he was dribbling around on the ground and then throws it up. Again, I just like Tony Parker, and I still question why he wasn't in that game instead of Ginobili. However, that's why Pop's the coach, and he makes the big bucks there.
That's right. Five conference championships, 4 rings. You know something about something.
That's right.
One interesting note, too, just with Parker, it's funny because it did look like one of those Harlem Globetrotter things, but the truth is, if you really watch and really break it down, it can kind of take yourself away from the spectacular visual. It was great fundamentals with his ball control. He never lost control of the basketball in spite of almost losing control of himself, his body, his equilibrium. He never lost control of that ball, and that's what gave him a chance to put up that prayer of a shot.
Right.
So San Antonio steals one in Miami. They take the home court advantage away from the Heat. Game 2 comes in. It's practically a must-win. You drop your first 2 at home in a best-of-7, and you are all but finished in the finals. Miami had to respond. They responded in a big way with a double-digit win. Here's what I thought was the biggest highlight of that particular game. So game 2, which was definitely Miami began to pull away in the fourth quarter, but LeBron James showing everyone why he's the king. Thiago Splitter is a center. He's Brazilian. He is, if he's not 7 feet tall, he's 6'11". He's not a small guy. He went up for the dunk. And even with a double-digit lead, LeBron James stood up, got all ball, and put him away. And again, in transition, he turned into 2 points the other way, and that might have extinguished the last flame that the Spurs had.
You know what, though, Eric? You don't want to take anything away from the king, LeBron. Fantastic play. However, Splitter's play was typical soft international basketball play. You gotta take LeBron James' hand off with a monster dunk at that point in the game. His hand should have been going through the net with the basketball.
Oh, you know what? I was waiting to hear. I think you're the first person actually that brought that up. Maybe partly because it was such a heck of a play, and maybe in part because the game was out of reach. But I knew that soft international basketball was going to come up at some point. Because one thing I've heard about the Spurs on a lot of other talk radio shows is people talk about, oh, it's a bunch of foreigners.
Are there any other talk radio shows, Eric? I didn't realize there were.
Well, not as good as this one.
Right.
Ooh, so Miami goes ahead. They take game 2, and so they go back to San Antonio for 3 straight games in the 2-3-2 format. And then, to quote Eminem, San Antonio puts a good old-fashioned, passionate ass-whipping with your shoes, coat, and your hat tucking on the Heat. It rained 3-point shots at the AT&T Center. So if you didn't pick up on the theme there, San Antonio hit a lot of threes in Game 3. It was one of the most lopsided losses in the history of the finals, third most lopsided loss in the history of the NBA Finals, 113-77. San Antonio hitting 16 three-point baskets, 16 of 32 from downtown. And that was a montage of Danny Green, Gary Neal, and I want to say Kawhi Leonard also had a couple in there. It was just incredible what took place, what we saw in Game 3.
Yeah, you know, when you give shooters the opportunity to get comfortable, they're going to knock down shots. Here you've got the Spurs playing at home, an uninspired effort by the Miami Heat, and the shooters for the Spurs stepped up and did what they do. This is the gym that they practice in every day. They're very familiar with it. You know, that's what they're supposed to do at home. I think the story here is more of the uninspired effort by the Heat, right, not making them uncomfortable. And at times we saw that with the Heat. that, they're so good that they didn't bring it every night. Right. They didn't play to their potential every night. And this was one of those nights.
It really looked like throughout a lot of the playoffs, like they were sleepwalking through the playoffs, which you can do certainly against Milwaukee, and with a Derrick Rose-less, Joakim Noah-less, and I think towards the end of Luol Deng-less Chicago Bulls team, you can do that. And even against Indiana, it just looked like they were toying with them like a cat and mouse till they had to get serious in the last couple, really in Game 7. Right. It was the only one where they really blew it open.
Right.
You can't do that against Pop and the Spurs. And I think it didn't appear to me that Miami woke up until Game 4, which we'll discuss in just a moment, and you started to get the series that I think we all deserved.
Right.
Just some notes in that game that stood out. Danny Green, 27 points. 7 of 9 from downtown.
Let me say this about Danny Green. I believe Jalen Rose put a little bit too much pressure on him. After this performance in Game 3, Jalen Rose started naming him the Finals MVP, and he was going to do all this. He's a fantastic player out of the University of North Carolina, won a national championship at North Carolina. I just think that they put too much on his shoulders because we didn't really see him perform at a high level after Game 3.
Well, you mean Game 5, I think you meant, and you're absolutely right. I mean, he was. Let's face it. If San Antonio had closed it out in Game 6, even with Green kind of disappearing in that game, not disappearing, but he did disappear offensively in that game. I think he still would have been Finals MVP. He set a record for three-point shots.
Right.
Hitting the Finals, but you got to win the Finals.
You got to win.
You know.
You got to win.
That game though, still some fantastic performances. Danny Green, 27 points in that game. Gary Neal, who was Tony Parker's backup, 24 points in that game. 6 for 10 from downtown.
Wow.
For Gary Neal, just an absolutely dominating performance. Kawhi Leonard, 14 points, 12 rebounds. In Game 3. Game 4 reverted back into San Antonio. Of course, LeBron and company, with a decisive win. Again, a double-digit victory. Game was never really that close in Game 4, and they continued to alternate back and forth and back. Game 5, the last one in San Antonio, one San Antonio absolutely positively had to have because there was much like Miami couldn't go down 0-2 at home, there's no way San Antonio was going to win a Game 6 and 7 in Miami. As it turned out, they won neither.
Right.
But they had to have that, and they did. They really pulled away from the Heat in the fourth quarter. The Heat, to their credit, for once didn't quit when they fell behind, cut it to 10, made it interesting at a couple of points in Game 5. But it set up the scene for 2 opportunities for San Antonio, 2 opportunities to win one, but they had to do it in South Beach.
Right. Tell me this, though, Eric. Bosh, what do you think of his play with the Heat in this series?
I don't know what to make of Chris. I mean, here's the thing. Here's the thing. When it was one thing about the Heat, really starting from the Eastern Conference Finals on, when they had to have a win, the Heat as a team rose up big time, and I think you can say that for Chris Bosh at points in the series. I mean, in Game 6, which we're going to get to in a moment, without his defense and with a clutch rebounding, he had a double-double in that game, 10 points, but 11 rebounds, including the one that set up the whammy, which we'll get into in a moment. And really, even though he didn't score a single point in Game 7, he had some hustle plays. He got in the way. Chris Bosh, I think, did what he had to do when he had to do it, but I was really disappointed overall with his contribution, really throughout the playoffs, but especially in the finals.
He doesn't seem worthy of being one of the big 3,
Right.
He just seems very inconsistent at times.
He really wasn't, and that really wasn't the case in the regular season, or for that matter, last year in the playoffs. If you recall, last year he was injured. And I don't think he came back. I cannot recall if it was in the middle of the Bulls series or the Pacers series, but when he came back, they really turned it up. They really turned it up, and you saw that he kind of rise to that next level, and they steamrolled everyone else the rest of the way. I believe it was the Pacers series, I'm sorry, where he came back last year, not the Bulls. They never faced the Bulls. In the middle of that Pacers series, the Pacers were going tit for tat. Chris Bosh returned from the injury. They blew the Pacers away. The Boston series, he was, probably the difference between winning and losing, getting in the way of KG as much as he did, and they just ate Oklahoma City alive last season. You know, in the regular season, he missed some time, and this is from memory, so I might be wrong. If anybody out there wants to look it up, call in, feel free. But I remember when he came back, that's really when the Heat started to. Remember, they had the 27-game winning streak. They appeared to separate from everybody.
Right.
From everybody, and Bosch is a big part of that. But I don't know what happened to him in the final 2 rounds of the playoffs.
Okay, well, tell me this real quick. The name of the show is Over and Under. Over and under Chris Bosh being back with the Heat next year.
Over. You can't, for a myriad of reasons. You won 3 straight conference titles, 2 straight NBA championships. I don't think you let a cold spell break that up. Also, you don't know how healthy Dwayne Wade's going to be next year.
That's the next over and under.
Third, and I'll get to that in a moment, but third, the Heat are the worst rebounding team in the NBA. Their post defense and their post presence sucks, for lack of a better term. He is about as good as they have, and he's just kind of okay. They can't afford to give that up without replacing it with somebody. So
they've got to get a big.
Yeah, I think right. And the last reason, his contract's pretty huge. So if he is quote unquote damaged goods, and he's got, although I think he is in the last year of that contract, that's I don't know. I think that you don't want to break up success. You just, especially he's still a young man, so I don't think they break that up.
I venture to say that we're going to see some adjustments on that team this year. And some of those elements aren't going to be there. I think Chalmers is going to be there. He's really the glue, I think. I think he's probably the most underrated player on the team. However, he really steps up and does the dirty things that they need done.
Right.
I think they're old. I don't think the Ray Allen will be back.
Right. Mike Miller.
Surprised
he came back this year.
Right.
He didn't retire after last year.
Right. So I don't think those guys will be around. And then you look at, well, you know.
I think Ray Allen might have 1 year left in that contract.
Really?
I mean, I think
he's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah.
So he may.
I think if he does, if I'm not mistaken, I think he comes back. If it was a 1 year deal, I don't think it was, but if it was, I agree with you. I don't think they resign him.
He's a defensive line.
Right, he is, and unless it's at an extreme discount, I mean, the league minimum, and somebody else will pay him more.
Right.
You know, on the other hand, he might want to win another championship. You never know.
Yeah, he would be crazy to leave.
Yeah. Well, Game 6. You know, this series really never had a lot of net. Game 1 was a little close at the end. Games 2 through 5 were never in doubt late in the fourth quarter. And then we came to Game 6 and Game 7.
Miami goes for the 3 right away. Just attack the basket. James catches, puts up the 3. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His 3-pointer. Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
If you watch the series at all or watch the news or pretty much aren't kin to an ostrich with your head in the hole in the ground, you know what that was. And that was the single moment in the series that turned it on its end. San Antonio was less than a half minute away from a championship, and with 2 clutch 3-point shots by LeBron James and future Hall of Famer Ray Allen, Miami got new life, took it in overtime, won the game.
2 thoughts here. One, San Antonio missed free throws on the other end prior to that big shot by Ray Allen. And you just can't do that. You've got to knock down free throws near the end of the game, and you're a professional basketball player, and we just expect that of you. So that's 1. 2, what about those Heat fans that left the arena?
That was comical and classical. I mean, they're walking out of the arena and they're banging on the doors to get back in. Let me tell you, I'm one of those guys. I mean, you know, my dad could tell you some anecdotes about how he'd take me to the Saints game, and I would not leave till the game was over. But I can understand how a fan, maybe in a regular season game, or even maybe a Game 1 or a Game 2, how, you know, Miami's one of those places, from what I understand, it's pretty hard to get home from down there, you know, so beat the traffic. I get all that, but it's the finals. The season is over. You might as well see, you followed them all this way. Why not hold out hope?
Hey.
You know, they had people in the street, Perry, in Miami, that were being interviewed by the local news saying, we were so close, and they really tried hard. And but we'll get them next year, you know, and well, maybe they'll get them next year, but what about this year? It ain't over.
Fair weather Lakers fan. If the axle was to break on the bandwagon, millions would be dead.
I like that one. I'm going to borrow that sometime. San Antonio really was shocking. They went 75% from the foul line, 21 of 28 over the course of the entire game, so it was really surprising to see players the caliber that they had choking at the line. They had, I believe it was Manu Ginobili. Did he miss? Who had the
Ginobili and Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard, that's right. He also had a miss, and that was very costly. So that killed him. The thing about this game that also stood out, besides the drama from the last half minute of regulation, this was really the first big statistical game that LeBron James had scoring-wise. He did have a triple-double earlier in the series in Game 2, but I believe he only had 17, 18 points. This one, 32 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds, 3 steals, and a block shot in that game. This was where you hear, when's LeBron going to really take over? When's he going to take over? And when he lost the headband, he just looked like a man possessed. They just weren't going to stop him.
He's the king.
So that leads us to the deciding Game 7. That one, to put the context, was in the final 2 minutes. Again, Kawhi Leonard's 25-foot jumper cut it down to 2. That one made it a double-digit game with 27 seconds to go in the ball game, and San Antonio would never recover. That was pretty much the last, the beginning of the end of that game.
And did you see LeBron strut after he hit this? It's like he knew that it was inevitable they were going to win this. But tell me this, Eric. Where does this series rank for you amongst NBA Finals?
I tell you, I'm glad you stole my thunder a little bit there, because I was going to talk about the drama. Let me just make 2 points real quick, just with the last point on this series from a dramatic standpoint. I'm a big fan of classic cartoons, grew up on Looney Tunes, and there was one where, if I remember correctly, Bugs is with Daffy, and Daffy's trying to upstage Bugs, and finally Daffy gets desperate. He drinks some nitroglycerin and blows himself to smithereens, and Bugs says, the crowd loved it, Daffy, they loved it, and he's going to heaven or wherever. He's like, well, yeah, but what do I do for an encore? And after Game 6, think about this, Game 7 was still a one possession game in the final minute, and it wasn't Game 6. It's like it still pales in comparison. How Game 7 of a championship series pale in comparison? That's just how huge Game 6 was.
Game 6 went in overtime, and it was good.
But getting back, I guess, to your original question, you had some. There've been some great series over the years, and there've been some not so great series over the years. You have Lakers Pistons in '88 went to 7, but I guess getting ahead of myself, a lot of those series I remember going 7 games. The 7th game wasn't really all that. Lakers Celtics went 7, but the Lakers began pulling ahead in the end. A lot of the best series, frankly, Perry, for me, from my memory, was some of the 6-game series, the Bulls and the Jazz, both years. Great, especially the last game with Michael Jordan as a Bull, when he got the shot and the controversial play where he had the hand contact with Brian Russell. The Game 6 of the 1993 finals, where John Paxson hit the 3-point shot at the very end. I want to say even the 96 finals, where the Bulls went up 3-0, and the Sonics rallied to push it to 6 on Father's Day. And I want to say it was Steve Kerr, maybe, that hit the game winner.
Okay.
And I might be blanking out. We're going back a long way.
Your memory's a lot better than mine.
But those are some that come to mind when we talk about great series of the past.
But I guess we could safely say, though, out of the 7-game series in the past 15 years or so, this has been
number one.
Yeah,
number one, because because frankly, you can make an argument for the series as a whole. Thinking back to the Lakers Celtics in 2010, because that was definitely a back and forth in that series. But Game 7 was by the fourth quarter, the Lakers began pulling away in the last 5 minutes. That was not the case here. They never had a game with the drama of Game 6. Now this one, I'll say, the middle games were snoozers. I mean, 2 through 5 were, but Game 6 And Game 7 made up for all of it, you know, and it really is what happens at the end before that curtain closes that determines your best shows, be it sports or the movies or anything else.
So the NBA wins again.
Yeah, as usual. David Stern rides off into the sunset. You know, I think the only one thing, if I'm Stern, that I wish I could have gotten was the LeBron-Kobe finals where they came close to it in 09 when Orlando beat the Cleveland Cavaliers to advance. But I think the NBA won, ABC, ESPN won, the sponsors won, and the Heat won. Quick reflection on Game 7 before we put a button on this one. LeBron James, again, with his second big scoring output, 12 of 23 from the field, 5 of 10 from downtown, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. We talked about that during our high school broadcast, how it's so easy to overlook the foul shots. He was perfect from the line. 45 minutes played, a total of 37 points and 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, plus-minus rating of +8 in that series. Also, Dwayne Wade pitched in 23 points, 18 points from Shane Battier, who had pretty much disappeared completely until Game 7. But that's when it counts the most, saving the best for last.
Shane Battier, another North Carolina guy, huh?
Yes, sir. No. Yeah, well, state of North Carolina.
Yeah,
Duke. Yeah, threw me off for a second there. But, so before we close it out, just wanted to get some words from the King before we close this out. And also, I want to talk very briefly about where this puts LeBron James and the Heat within the span of their legacy in the NBA.
Kings came down here to win championships. Not one championship. Not two. LeBron, tell us about that. Not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, not 10.
So, of course, that was a pep rally that the Heat had when LeBron James and Chris Bosh first signed with the Heat back in 2010. Words he'd have to eat a little bit after falling short to the Mavericks in the 2011 finals. But, LeBron James, let's put those words, those quote in context. What happens, that's what the sports radio shows tend to play all the time. What they don't do is let it run another 15 seconds where he says, all hyperbole aside, so many words, all hyperbole aside, I think we can win multiple championships, and they have done that.
Well, 2 is multiple.
Yeah.
However, as we alluded to earlier, they're going to have to make some serious changes of that team. Let's look at the East. Indiana's a really good basketball team.
Mm-hmm. They are. And Danny Granger's going to be back next year.
And they're really young. The Chicago Bulls are a good basketball team. And when you add Jalen Rose to that mix, they become a
Derrick Rose.
Wow.
Jalen Rose and his band singing, I'm sure he'll be flattered, though.
But when you add Derrick Rose to that mix, they become a contender.
Hell of a coach, too, in Chicago. Tom Thibodeau is a heck of a coach.
The Nets are getting better with Jason Kidd now becoming the head coach. The Knicks, Carmelo Anthony. It's going to be tough for Miami to do what they did these past 2 years without making some adjustments. That team is getting older, and the East is young, full of young talent.
Right, I agree with you totally there, Perry. And real quick, I guess before we really do cap the NBA for good, over under LeBron James if he decide to become a Buddhist monk and retire today, Hall of Fame, over under?
Over.
I agree. Over.
You know what, though? I forgot to mention that we had a injury in the West of last year's runner-up.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Oklahoma will be back.
Yeah, they will. No, but you take Russell Westbrook. I think they definitely don't struggle with Houston. I think they beat Golden State, and I don't know that they're not having a rematch of last year. Now, San Antonio played fantastic throughout the playoffs, but if Russell Westbrook is healthy, there's no guarantee that we wouldn't have had a Oklahoma Thunder Heat Part 2. They could. I really said around this time a year ago that this was the Lakers Celtics in the making, and we don't know that it's not yet.
That's right.
So that will wrap it up there for NBA discussion, and we definitely had to spend a lot of time on that. It's something that the finals is something that only ends once a year, and it's a champion in the making. And I think that definitely deserved the lion's share of our time today on Over Under.
At this point, will we get some phone calls from the callers, hear what they have to say?
Absolutely. I think we definitely should have you folks calling in at 555-BRCC, so please call in. And let us know your thoughts, less of us, more of you, in this segment of the show. We are in Tiger Town, so let's talk briefly about the LSU Tigers. This is one thing I personally, you went to LSU too. I mean, I don't think we're going to spend too much time on this because it wasn't quite as happy as the ending as it was for the Heat. The LSU Tigers, after winning a record 57 games in the regular season, bowed out as quickly as possible, getting knocked out in the first elimination game of the College World Series at the hands of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Perry, I was kind of disappointed with LSU. You know, if you told Tiger fan on the street before the first game, before the UCLA game, that LSU would not give up any earned runs in the first game with Aaron Nola on the mound, who hadn't lost a game all year prior to that, if you told me that their pitching staff would have a 2.0 ERA through the first two games of the College World Series, you think the average fan, over under, you think the average Tiger fan would take it?
Over.
Oh yeah, absolutely over. You know, but that's what happened. Aaron Nola, the Tigers did not give up a single earned run in the first game, and they lost on 2 earned runs off of 2 very costly errors by the Tigers. And Adam Plutko of UCLA was absolutely amazing, and he has been throughout the entire series. You know, I've watched a few UCLA games. It seems like they don't give up any runs. Hardly. You know, they're kind of boring to watch, but that can be really beautiful when you're trying to win a championship. But costly errors and an absolute complete disappearance of the bats in that series really cost them. And then in the second game of that series, in North Carolina, their reputation, I mean, they've been one of the better teams in college baseball, but they've never been able to get over the hump during the last few years. But they also had a dandy. Again, LSU only generated 2 runs. They never really were in the game. They were down as much as 3-1 in the 7th, and in the second game, double plays absolutely, killed them. Really killed them. They had 2 double plays. The costliest one, of course, when they had the 2 runners on with none out in the 9th, and Ray Primes grounds with the double play, and it's over with, as is the season, and this possibly best season ever goes up faster than it started.
That's what's truly amazing. Let me clear something up, though, Eric. I've got a whole nation out there that will get very upset with me if I don't say that. I also went to Southern University, so, let me just clear that up. Now, in this game of baseball, timely hitting and good defense wins championships. And our Tigers failed to execute in those areas at the crucial time of the season. This is the point where you cannot have bad batting games, and you cannot have bad defense games.
Yeah, no, you can't. It really will. LSU left 2 runners on in scoring position with 2 away. That's very costly hitting. And I'm sorry, Ray Primes grounded into the double play. That wasn't the first game against UCLA with the bases loaded rally. But again, case in point, it kills you. It absolutely kills you. And
fantastic season.
Yeah, great season, but what a disappointment in Omaha.
Right. There's no way, when I look at that record and that these Tigers had, it was probably the best record in
the most regular season wins in the history of the program. And that's a pretty great history.
Right. And I'm thinking there's no way the Tigers are not going to make it to the championship.
Yep. And
to lose the first 2 games, hey, that's just astonishing.
It is. It really is. It's a whole different ball game when you're at a championship level. But big props to UCLA there in the championship game, championship series rather, against Mississippi State. So there is some SEC representation.
Think the SEC is going to bring it home?
I think they have a very good chance. UCLA is very good, and Adam Plutko is. I mean, I was impressed with the stuff that he had on his ball. But I'll tell you, a lot of people speculated that it could have been a Mississippi State LSU championship series. I think the Bulldogs can take them. Yeah, we will see. We shall see.
Right. Go SEC.
Yeah, absolutely. Out there also in Tigerland, I happened across an article there. That if you remember Chad Jones, who was big star at LSU, a big part of the 2007 national championship winning team, absolutely could throw flames. He was a relief pitcher on the LSU Tigers' last national championship, College World Series winning baseball team in 2009. Left-hander flamethrower, but of course his future was in the NFL. Drafted in the 3rd round by the Giants, and then had a a horrific auto accident in New Orleans on his way to work out in June, very shortly after the draft. There was some speculation he could lose his leg, some speculation he could lose his foot. Thank goodness that wasn't the case. He had to be cut out of his car, long, grueling rehab. New York Giants, very classy organization. They let him keep nearly $1 million signing bonus. They gave him a chance to earn a spot on the roster in 2012, but his footwork just wasn't there. He tried out with the Eagles and Saints and gave up on football. Well, good things happen to good people, and the Cincinnati Reds, the oldest major league organization in existence, actually, have offered Chad Jones an opportunity. Chad Jones is a left-hander who was scoring in the 90s during his days at LSU, and if you're a lefty throwing in the 90s and you can get people out, you will definitely get a chance in professional baseball, and that is just what happened. So Reds Director of Baseball Operations Nick Kroll said that he immediately contacted Jones's agent, and he wasted no time in getting Jones signed up. They wanted to sign him on the spot, and they did as soon as they possibly could. The Major League Baseball rules dictated that he had to actually go through the draft process, so they selected him in the 9th round of the draft, and I hope that really works out for him.
That is awesome, man. You just wish the best for him and that family. He was such a dedicated athlete, and to have the tragedy happen, like you say, good things happen to good people, and you just want to see things work out for the young man.
I really sincerely do hope so. Good guy, and I'm glad to see it. It's just a tough break that the man had.
Right.
Speaking of more unfortunate breaks, I guess Manu Ginobili wasn't the only one. How should I put this? Manu Ginobili could have maybe taken a lesson on making shots in the field from Aaron Hernandez, possibly. As you probably have heard, I know that was terrible, but Aaron Hernandez, the New England Patriots star tight end, big pass catcher, of course, there's been a lot of speculation he's involved in a homicide investigation in the Boston area. An associate of his, semi-football player, 27-year-old Olden Lloyd, was found shot to death in a car that was rented by Aaron Hernandez in a field. And, of course, the salacious details have begun trickling out in the media with Aaron Hernandez smashing his cell phone and his security system, and having a cleaning crew come and clean out his house immediately afterwards. And
what's up with that?
There's been there was an arrest warrant reportedly, and there's been some back and forth in the media on this, but there's been an arrest warrant reportedly issued for him for obstruction of justice. And they said yes, they did. No, they didn't. So Aaron Hernandez is in some deep doo-doo, Barry.
You know what? And the whole thing just stinks. It just stinks. It's like, okay, the cleaning crew, maybe you have them scheduled to come, Yep. Destroying your cell phone, destroying your home video. Something's not quite right here. There's something we're not getting here. There's something, and I can understand due to police investigation, everything's not being communicated to the press. I get it. However, I can't wait to hear the rest of this story. Something's not right. And the question for me is to see Tagliabue come down. No, not Goodell. Wow, man, what era am I in? To see Goodell come down on players as hard as he's come down, and as hard as he came down on our beloved Saints, it's going to be interesting to see what the NFL does here.
Well, one thing I'll say about Goodell, he definitely, I call him Sheriff Goodell because of the way he has his badge and twirls his six-shooters, but he is probably going to wait for all the facts to come out. But, I mean, Aaron Hernandez is in deep doo-doo. I mean, there was another report, after this story broke, there was another report that several months earlier he allegedly shot a man in the face outside of a strip club in the Miami area, I believe. He was being sued in court. Again, the media only gave pieces of that because I'm wondering myself, when you shoot anybody in the face, why wasn't he arrested? So
right.
I'm not going to, I know there was a civil, I'm comfortable saying there was a civil suit filed, and I'll just leave it at that without knowing more facts. I'm not going to drag the man through the mud. But, and when he came into the league, there were reports that the Patriots brass had some concern about his possible gang affiliations with Hernandez, which is what may have made him fall in the draft, supposedly. So, this man has a lot of hair. There's a lot of hairiness on his resume. A lot of hair on his resume.
Gang affiliation.
Allegedly.
Okay.
So Aaron Hernandez is in some hot water, and that's Well, I also like, the internet. It's not funny when someone dies, but you can't help but with something as sensational to notice some of the reaction. I noticed the term Arenthal going around Twitter, as in like Orenthal.
Oh, wow.
Saw one picture on Twitter with Ray Lewis, O.J. Simpson, and Aaron Hernandez cards. I think it was called the homicide set or something.
Wait a minute now. Hernandez is a pretty good football player, but he's no Ray Lewis.
No, he's O.J. Simpson either.
O.J. Simpson.
But it's just, in this 24-hour news cycle, the public is brutal and they waste no time.
Wow. Well, the real tragedy is for the semi-pros football player. Death and his family. We can't overlook that.
Right.
And we wish the best, that they will find some closure to what happened to their beloved.
And some justice.
And some justice.
Yeah.
Usually justice helps lead to closure.
That's right. Absolutely. I totally agree. Just real before segueing on to our last topic, I couldn't help, one other thing from the Aaron Hernandez scare, the Arenthal saga.
Okay.
And this is what led me to bring up Arenthal. He was, I believe it was Thursday. He went to the Patriots facility. He was asked to leave very shortly thereafter. He got into a white Audi. He was kind of mobbed by the vultures of reporters outside of a gas station, had no comments, and took off. And some news helicopters followed him in his white Audi back to his suburban mansion in Boston. I couldn't help but parallel 19 years ago with A.C. Collins driving the white Bronco, bringing O.J. to his home in suburban Los Angeles. It's just, and then you have Arenthal. It's, history somehow always finds a way to repeat itself.
And you know what, though, Eric, our listeners out there probably don't even know who A.C. is.
Yeah, A.C., for those of you that are probably students of Baton Rouge Community College and were probably infants or not even born when the O.J. A.C. Collins was O.J. Simpson's former teammate. He was an offensive guard, if I remember correctly, Buffalo guard or a tackle.
Yeah.
Great player in his own right, but he was O.J. was his BFF and was driving the white Bronco in the infamous slow-speed chase through Los Angeles in June of 1994 prior to Simpson's arrest on double murder charges, for which he was later acquitted but found responsible in civil court. Last but not least, we did talk about some not so pleasant baseball, but some good baseball, or some interesting baseball news. Puig Mania, or Yasiel Mania, the newest rookie sensation is really sweeping Major League Baseball and Dodger land. Cuban defector and Los Angeles Dodgers right fielder, rookie right fielder Yasiel Puig is taking the sports world and the baseball world by storm. Puig has played 18 games. His batting average is .455 through yesterday. He has hit 6 home runs, 12 RBIs, an on-base percentage of .478, a slugging percentage of .773, an on-base plus slugging of .1251, 2 stolen bases this month. I'm just kind of at a loss for word. 9 extra base hits in the 18 games he's played in June. This guy is unbelievable. At 6'3", 245 pounds, playing in the outfield. This guy is at 22 years old. He is an athlete. He
sounds like it, Eric. But it's still early, man. 18 games. You probably haven't faced any pitchers twice,
right?
So they don't know how to attack you or approach you. Not a whole lot of film on you yet. You know what? And you know what the story of baseball is for me? Can you tell me who's got the best record in baseball right now?
Well, right now, that would be the St. Louis Cardinals.
Exactly. Isn't that phenomenal?
Interestingly, there's no coincidence there. And you know what it is? But let me tell you, that's a microcosm. The Cardinals scout, and they find the best players. Let me tell you, though, there is some truth in the numbers. I don't follow baseball scouting as much as maybe some of the super diehards do, but I had hearing some buzz from some guys. When this guy got called up in his first Major League game, he was 2 for 4. And then his second Major League game, he was 3 for 4 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and of course the world, and also a double, and the world exploded with Puig Mania. And some of the scouts said that they said they've been shouting at the top of their lungs, this guy was the real deal. And you know what? Most rookies are making the major league minimum no matter how good you are, especially from Latin America. Hatfield Puig's current contract, 7 years, $42 million, and he played a year in the rookie leagues last year. He's earning $3.7 million. That is high. That is extremely high for a rookie. Very few rookies are lucky to be making low seven figures.
Right.
In the rookie leagues in 2012, he played in 23 games, 15 RBIs in those 23 games, 5 home runs, on-base plus slugging of 1076, a batting average of 354 last year. This year in Double-A, Double-A, 40 games played. This is before he was called up. 313 average, had 37 RBIs in 40 games played. 8 home runs, on-base plus slugging of 982. As the poet Jay says, the hip-hop poet Jay-Z would say, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. 6'3", 245. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. They said also, last but not least, as far as over-under, I'm just going to kind of give this one away at the end, that Puig, this is an over, is that Puig, in the first 4 games, 4 home games at Dodger Stadium, sold more paraphernalia related to him personally than any other Dodger in history, more than Manny Ramirez, more than Fernando Valenzuela with the Fernando Mania that took place.
Now that's an awesome statistic.
And more than, I'm probably overlooking a couple of others, but most individual licensed merchandise than any other player.
They've had some phenomenal players play in that organization over there. And that is outstanding. And happy for Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
However, my beloved hometown Cardinals are going to smash them in the playoffs. And I'm just looking forward to October.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's going to be good. They're having. I did not think the Cardinals would be having the season they'd have when they let Lance Berkman go, and they had I want to say it was Chris Carpenter.
His career
went down.
Wainwright
might be over.
It might be over. Wainwright's back on the mound.
Right.
They're playing great. It's interesting to see Lynn's pitching well.
Right.
The second 10-game winner. You got 2 10-game winners with Lynn and Wainwright.
Mm-hmm.
And the bats are just something that's going a lot of runs.
They're terrible.
Carlos Beltran, man.
He's had a resurgence. I mean, not that he was ever chopped liver, but he had that hot streak when he came to the Houston Astros. The Mets paid him all that money, and he was always good, but never an 18 to 19 or $17 million year guy, whatever they paid him. And then he went, came to the Cardinals, and he's tearing the cover off the ball.
Right.
It's like he's aged backwards in some ways.
It's a long baseball season, though.
It sure is. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, though, are going to give chase to the Cardinals all year. They have the second. You mentioned yesterday the best record in baseball. I don't know if this is still the case, but I know as of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the second and third best records in the National League were the second and third best teams in the Central. So it's going to be a really good chase down the stretch. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on our pilot edition of the Over Under. This is Eric Hatfield
and Perry Daniels,
and we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us here on BRCC Radio.